Welcome to Stirred Up. I'm Heather.
I'm Jessica.
Welcome to our podcast where business meets happy hour and we're serving up brand insights with bar rail banter.
We're two Midwest corporate pros who love dissecting popular brands, not just for their marketing genius or business moves,
but for their corporate integrity. Together, Jess and I dig into sustainability, leadership, and how brands are actually impacting the world we live in.
All while keeping it fun, relatable, and let's be honest, fueled by some Fireball too.
Woohoo! So whether we're clinking glasses to the brands who are doing it right,
or closing the book on the one that missed the mark,
we'll bring you the real, unfiltered takes on what the brands are doing that are shaping our world and the lives we live daily.
So grab a drink, settle in, and let's get this shit stirred up.
All right. So you had so much anxiety this week?
Not in general, like
About
recording. And it's like, and I was telling Christy that, and my rat, so I also forgot, like, I haven't recorded with this little fucker in a long time.
Bella's here too. I almost and it was going to be a shit show because they'll play. I knew it, but
yeah, we're very fancy here. We also have Nespresso pods, so I get a cup of coffee like that fucking tall. So I'm gonna need about 17 coffee breaks if we're not drinking alcohol.
oh my god, I didn't bring the whole pot out. Maybe if you take a break, I'm running in to get the pot then.
And I have a picture of Christy and her best friends. I'm in Houston, everyone. Welcome to Stirred Up.
Welcome to
I'm in
Stirred
Houston,
Up.
but this is Christy and her best friends from college.
I love that.
And I'm at the manch, up here in the manch.
I had to turn the heat on in the studio because it's fucking cold in here.
Did it snow?
It snowed yesterday, and we turned the heat on here because it had been so nice. But I'm turning it on. It's back on. It's cold. I had to go hustle into the grocery store this morning because I was a little bit late for our time. Because yesterday I went out of my way to go to the store because we didn't have any alcohol in our house and I needed some wine. And meanwhile, the kids have been out of milk and out of cereal and out of all these other things. So I went all the way to the corner store, bought $60 worth of wine, didn't even consider the milk or cereal or anything else that I might have gotten there. Came home and Payne's like, yeah, and Matt's like, what a real mom win moment that was, huh? You just got yourself some wine and no milk for the kids. So I had to get into
They can drink the pond water.
Like they're old enough, they don't actually need milk. They'll survive.
Give them some Mountain Dew or something, like true people west of 30. My dad used to give us. My dad was a college educated human, first in his family. And he gave us Mountain Dew for breakfast when he was a teacher and babysat us in the summer when we were like 6 and 4, or like 6 and 2. Diet too, I think. Like just dancing with the devil. Here, children. My mom would have
died.
I mean, she grew up in a family where you had to have you had breakfast at the table, and it was an Italian breakfast, and you came with your hairbrush and your teeth brush and your house coat on, you know. Here Papa is rolling his little rats down to the corner store with Mountain Dew and bare feet in the middle of the summer.
Like the Lee Tucky shit right there.
You know, I think that was funny as I've been, you get older and you like reflect on the past and like I don't know, at least I do anyway, and like how I got this way and how I became, and like I think about Stirred Up a lot, and like how our personalities and like the lives we've lived. But honestly, like it does start with my parents. Like if I had an ear infection, which I had frequently, Rosemary was not taking me to the emergency room without a bow in my hair and a matching dress. Papa babysat me in the summer. Babysat me. My own dad babysat me. Held it. And didn't even know if we had clothes on. And didn't give a shit.
And all that all works.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes sense though. Even as a 40-year-old, just think about how you were raised. Like what gives you no anxiety because of Pat?
Right.
Where you have like reason and logic and like you're just not gonna because Gail taught you that discipline.
Or I can't remember exactly the thing I was thinking about today. For some reason I was thinking about ice skating and I was like, I cannot believe my kids don't know how to ice skate. I would have known how to ice skate like pretty soon, like at Peyton's age. And then I reflecting back, like, why do I think my kids need to know how to ice skate? Kids don't really know how to ice skate, but I knew, and like that's what my family did. So it's just so funny that the expectations I put on my assumptions about what I feel like is next in life for my kids is because that's what I would have done. But it's not always that. It's just on like an autopilot parenting. Oh, speaking of parenting,
Disagree. I agree. Sorry.
We're surviving without the iPad. We've had no YouTube. Kids, they ask a
How's
little.
everyone's attitudes?
Everybody's better. Yeah. Like
Including you.
we're doing better. We're doing way better.
Are you doing better?
Yeah. Well, okay. So there's only one time of the day that I'm not, and that's when I relied on it the most was the morning. So I could turn on kids' TV and they'd each have their own thing going on. One had an iPad, one had the big TV or whatever. And then I could go make breakfast. I could go get ready. And now we have to take turns on who's picking. And there's a little bit of drama going on with like choosing what we're going to watch for the kids. And Clay is pretty distraught and so now so we're adapting. He's now helping make breakfast. And he comes with me to get ready, which is not actually what I want. Like I want my time to be ready by myself and they can.
Your ass is to daycare, children.
I know he has only eaten his breakfast a couple of days this week because he is like bawling because he wants, that's just the start of the day. So that's the only time that it is. And we get over it pretty quickly and we're moving on. We're okay. We're better off net and out.
I did. Yeah. I observed a couple of things the other night. Couple things. One, big shout out to you. Your patients are really good.
Thank you.
After working all day
inside sometimes, but
I get it. But you're doing a good job. I know you, so I know they are.
Yeah.
But he does not. I don't think generally, which I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. So I'm not praising you for not telling your kid to fuck off. But he does glue himself to you. And after a very long day, because everyone always talks about the lovely sides of motherhood, and having teenagers, I will tell you, like, it is lovely and it is also fucking traumatizing all at the same time. But you work all day, then we did podcasts all night and we were using our brains and we had sort of like a day in itself. And when he's ready to sit on your lap and be glued to you, that's what that fucker needs. That's just the end of it.
Yep.
Or we're all going to pay the price. But recognizing that I don't love to be sit on like that at the end of the day. That's a lot. And you handle it really well, but also he likes peace. Like I can see he gets to a point where he's like, nope, I just want to stare at the wall. Yeah. Which I can highly relate to.
Yeah. It's a little cocoon.
The crash.
Yeah. And he hasn't figured out how to like self cocoon yet. Even Peyton hasn't. So in the morning we have a full-on 2 big couches and a lazy boy. And what are they doing? We are all 3 of us sitting on one seat every morning, touching. It's so much, but it's what we do. That all the time. It's like their comfort space. So whatever. One day we'll grow out of it, and I'll miss it. But I was like, last night, I can't be touched again. Somebody just needs to move to a different seat.
Go the fuck away. Yeah, I love you and go away. Yeah.
I was like, if you need to sit on my lap, then you need to go to bed. We can't always do this.
That's also fair. Yeah. You need to sit on my lap.
Yeah, then it's time. We started going to bed.
Like a sling for Clay to hang from you.
Yeah.
So you can keep moving, but you like to sit too. I would need a sling if I was Clay's mother. Because I wouldn't be able to sit with him as much as he needed to be sat with. I just have to drag him around wherever I went. I'd have to hang off me. But Livy's 12. If she has too much weekend excitement, if she has a big day, bad or good, she will still melt at 12 not every night.
Well,
not Sunday night.
Adults, we have our own way of melting too. We just have figured out how to either suppress the emotions or channel them differently. I think we do that until we're in our 20s.
I'm still doing it, I think. I don't know. I don't like to suppress them anymore.
I've been on TikTok a little bit more this week because I've been doing more sitting with my children for all of the reasons. And I have 2 observations about where I've been put in the TikTok algorithm right now. First of all, I'm in sobriety TikTok, and it feels a little bit like Jehovah's Witnesses knocking on my doors telling me religion. Like I swipe quickly because I don't want to listen too long. I'm not here. I'm not ready for that. Why am I in sobriety TikTok?
And you said sobriety and Jehovah's Witnesses? Are they part of the sobriety community?
No, but I feel like the sobriety like message is a little bit like a religious message. It's like when someone is coming knocking on your door and they're like, you need God. Like, why am I getting served up all of this sobriety stuff? Like these people talking about their sobriety and all. I don't just good for you, but why are we here? Why am I here?
Here we are drinking water. We are yogaing. We are running. We are not only allowed alcohol on days we do not exercise.
Oh,
we are
I
eating
don't do
the
that anymore. I did that for a week. Not doing that anymore.
cut it out. This is our show. Lie to the public.
Well, it turns out I was running on like a Sunday, but I wasn't going to drink on Sunday or Monday or something like that. And I was like, so then I can just offset it by drinking on Thursday, and I'm not going to be working out on Thursday. I don't know. It all comes out. It is.
Cooper and I thing. So Polly brought her ferret. So Amy Lynn calls me Polly. So have you ever seen Along Came Polly?
No.
Okay. So I have a couple stories for you. Hold on. Let me go back to TikTok for a second. Sobriety and Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay. So I saw a reel, Facebook reel, where it's the Ring doorbell camera, which I love.
Me
Like,
too.
if you have not gotten sucked into Ring doorbell camera, any sort of reels, social media, TikToks, YouTube shorts, you are missing out on life. Whether it's people coming home drunk,
Right. Those are my favorite.
dogs running away,
Yeah. Delivery people.
getting to like running out of the house and then their spouse jumping out of the car and the car going down the street. Like they just don't get shutting the garage door on themselves. Like
That's
it's better than watching people fall down.
Yes.
But generally they're falling down too.
You're
so
right.
it's like double fucking bonus.
And you know
And
it's not staged. Like it's the most perfect thing because the only other time you usually get stuff on video is like a wild, crazy chance, or it's staged. People are recording it to do something dumb and they know what they're doing. So it's so pure. It's so pure.
Pure and dude, have you seen the ones where pure, where the dog like will ring the doorbell at 3:00 in the morning because it ran away? It's like bro just showed up at 3:00 in the morning, like ringing the doorbell. Well, let me in.
That's really
Across the board, what happens on people? So, couple stories, hysterical. I have two funny stories. My first story is we are big fans of ding dong ditching. Big, huge fans. We love to ring people's doorbells, especially people that we know. That's how it's supposed to go. You're not supposed to scare the old people. I do not scare the old people unless we know the old people.
Is it scary? You're not scaring. You're just like ringing the
People
bell,
get
right?
fucking fired up to have to get up.
Oh my God.
Door. And it is the fact that they react that way is actually what fuels the activity.
Yeah.
Like,
because
if you're going to
reaction,
they're probably not going to show up. We
Yeah.
like to come to people's houses who are going to get real fired up. So that's the game we started. The children both play that, probably disrupt the elderly. Probably not anymore. They're probably, I don't think so. But find it like almost like a war to ding dong ditch your friends, but them not know you did it. Get away before they come to the door. Right? Being caught means you lose.
Okay.
Right? So if you're the ditcher and you get away before they notice, because right, kids are now ding dong ditching other kids in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And because they're ding dong ditchers themselves, they can get to the door quick, they can open windows, like they really try to catch them in the act. It's like a whole like almost like paintball ding dong ditching. Readiness.
Yeah.
So Amy Lynn came over 2 weeks ago before I came to Houston, and she first called me Polly, and this is my ferret. And so if you ever seen Along Came Polly, she calls me Polly and Brewer the ferret, the blind ferret. But I'm more blind, and he just gets whacked into walls because I drag him all the places. And we took Griffey for a walk, and Griffey is, gosh, poor Griffey. Griffey's 8, Griffey's 7. Griffey's 7. And we got up to the house, and because it's a TikTok phenomenon, right? Follow my TikTok trail here. And we said, okay, Griff, you're going to do your first ding dong ditching at my house. You're going to ding dong ditch Bennett, and his friend TJ were over. So we like got down behind the bush by the neighbors. We had her little dog and my little dog, and we explained to him what to do. Like, go up to the house, get below the door, get up, make sure no one's there, hit the doorbell, and run as fast as you can back to us. And he was like, okay. So then we thought we had a really good plan. And then I had like a moment of panic that he's going to run down my brick steps and smack his face. So he's like halfway up the steps, and I'm like, don't
Don't trip.
Anyways, he does it, and he gets back to Amy and Bennett and TJ, 17-year-olds, come outside, and they're looking around. They're like, "Oh, fuck, bro, just got ditched." Like, so then Griffey comes out of the bush, and he's like, "Ah."
That's so cute.
They're like, "You got ding dong ditched by a 7-year-old." So, all that to say, TikTok. That's the thing on TikTok. Jehovah Witnesses. Circling back to your story, there was one that I watched this week. You don't see the naked guy, but you see the guys in the Jehovah Witness church outfits, knocking outfits. And the guy goes, "I'll send it to you." But the guy who answered the door was basically like, "I can't answer. I'm in here like naked banging my wife."
Oh my God.
And they were like, "Well, we're just here to talk about the Lord." And he was like, he said, I don't remember what it was. I don't have the hook, but the hook is like basically like, Jesus is in the back, like, no need or something to that effect. But it's all on the Ring doorbell. So you don't see the naked guy. You see the Jehovah Witnesses. They're both standing there like,
not sure what to do. That's hilarious.
not have any idea what to do. Like, very funny.
Hilarious.
TikTok also helped Stanley grow by like $200 million.
Really? That was a big part of it?
Women in TikTok.
That's crazy.
Brand, color, women in TikTok. Brewer took his first plane ride.
And how did he do?
He was so fabulous, Jessica.
Good.
We were an hour delayed out of Saginaw, and I didn't check my app. I just went to the airport and was an hour and a half early because we were delayed an hour and a half. So then he's pretty much accomplished and overcome really anything. He can swim. He'll ride in wagons. He'll sit in purses. He'll jump up on things. He'll jump off of things. Like, he'll swim all the things, riding on a kayak. He's still nervous and probably couldn't pass. He does not like people movers or any sort of grates. So the grates are helping here because Christy has grates in the pool deck.
I get on a people mover too, and I get a little nervous.
Yeah, but he can't. He's got to get it going. Anyway, we were late, and we had to run from B to A51. We landed at 8:15, and we were taking off at 8:30, and I had to get there in 15 minutes. And I was like, and he can run, right, faster than me. But I was like, I want to get across the people mover and the spaceship tunnel and to go from, B to A. I stuck that fucker in my purse, like in my brown fuzzy bag, and put him on top of my suitcase. And we ran down that people mover, and we were going so fast, he needed a helmet and some goggles.
Good job, Brewer.
He's so good. And the people in the plane both had, and so the first guy I sat next to, I was in Delta Comfort. I got upgraded to first class from Saginaw to Detroit, which was lovely. And it was a Barbie doll plane, but it wasn't like a little people Barbie doll plane. Do you know what I mean? What's Barbie's little sister?
I have no idea.
Skipper. It was not a Skipper plane. It was a Barbie size plane.
Oh, got it.
We were in first class, first seat. So it was just him and I, and no one really noticed.
Which wasn't really a first class. It just happened to be at the front. Yeah. Right? On a little plane.
Yeah, I didn't even get a mimosa. Got one of those to Houston. Drank 2 after my sprint.
Right.
It's like, I need to
hydrate.
I need to hydrate. Drank 2 full things of orange juice. I was very proud. Anyways, when I went down to sit in my row, the gentleman who was I was in the window, he was in the aisle, and then we were in the middle. And this plane was Delta Comfort, but it was more first class Delta Comfort because it was an old plane. So they were huge seats. And he smiled when he saw Brewer. So he knew that I had Brewer. But the people in front, which were the first class people, were literally right behind them. And the people behind had no idea he was on the plane until we got off. And then right before the plane took off, a stewardess, flight attendant, you don't call them that anymore. How old am I? A stewarder. And a stewardess and a steward human. Stewardess. Stewards of the plane, flight attendant. She sat down right next to us and rode. So he had to be on his best and follow all the guidelines and all the rules because he was sitting next to the official police.
He's good in public.
Very good.
Yeah. Go Brewer. Good job.
My sister also said that I look like my dog. So now that he's on camera and that.
Yeah, that tracks. So I do really think.
Hold on, how do I look like your dog? He's very stoic like me. Anyway, my sister says I look like my fucking dog.
You do. Big up.
I think she's
and I am a golden retriever. I told you in my bar fight story. So like
I am a King Charles Cavalier. And now that I'm just putting it all out there today, they were only owned by royalty for the first part of their life. So I have a vision we're getting a plane, me and you and Brewer and Bella. And I will go nowhere without our dogs. I won't.
Okay.
If you start recording, then it fucks with the shit a little bit. Okay, also you're gonna die. So Harrison, I told you this week, I didn't tell you the whole story, so this is funny. So Harrison starts to limp, and he's limping for a while. He has no other symptoms. I'm feeling him out. I'm moving his shoulder. Long story short, take the fucker to the vet. Liv and I take him to the vet last Friday, thinking we're just going in for like checking out our wrists. The next thing you know, he refuses to get out of the car. They have to pull a stretcher. We've got 6 people in the parking lot. They tell me my dog is stubborn yet stoic. He's not biting or growling. He's just like his mother, just like, I'm not getting out.
Yeah, I've seen him like that when he doesn't want to leave the studio.
Yeah. Yes. So long story short, they thought he had bone cancer. We did all the scans. It ended up costing me $895. He needs a $1,400 surgery like the day we get back from spring break because he has a lump on his penis that he's had a history of, cancer that hasn't metastasized. So good. Bad news for the Smith family. It's going to be about $3,000. And he wouldn't get out of the car and he was dramatic, and a $50 day ended up costing us $800. But the funny part of the story is he doesn't also like to get in the car, because the only time he ever gets to go anywhere now, because he doesn't like to get in the car, is the vet or the lake. And he's not sure until he's to the destination, or at least down the road where we're taking him.
If it's going to be a bust or if it's going to be exciting.
Fuck yeah. So Mike has to help him from the car anyways, plus he's got a sore wrist. And Mike knows that like Harrison gets anxiety about getting in the car. I get anxiety about getting Harrison in the car, all the things. And he goes to help Harry in the car. And it's very simple in comparison. And he like loads him up.
Yeah.
And I turn and I look in his hands. He's like this. He's standing there like this. And he's like in like this little boy tone with this like scared look on his face. He's like, just my whole finger just went up the dog's asshole. When he picked him up and put him in the truck, he stuck his finger up his butt. He had shit on the end of his dress clothes.
Oh, no.
So Harrison got absolutely violated.
Right.
Thought he got worms. Sorry to the vet. But that was my last story for you before we get into the real tea.
Good. All right, we ready for the
For
real
Mike Smith.
Today it's the real hot coffee, but the real tea.
Yeah, I don't even have a Stanley. Okay, first question. So today's Stanley. Jessica, let's go. Do you have a Stanley?
I don't have a Stanley. I love all the Stanleys. I kind of want a Stanley. I just can't justify all the money for a Stanley. I don't care.
Someone, if you love Jessica and you love her entertainment, send this woman a Stanley. She needs one. We actually bought, it ended up being about $80 Stanleys for our viewers. By the time we bought the Stanley, had them engraved and mailed them. And so we couldn't justify keeping one ourselves. We wanted to give them to our listeners. So Jess doesn't even have a branded Stanley. Neither do I. But we love our loyal listeners. And I think it's the best.
It's the right choice.
It was the right choice. And I want to talk to you about that we have the children here, the cool children who live in a cool neighborhood, who are cool kids, want comfort.
Yeah.
But they only want it with our shit on it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, everyone's adjusting. But Eli texted today and told his mom, Brewer can come back every time if Miss Jessica and Heather get me comfort. And I said, well, I'll order him some. And I'm like, I told him I'd leave him this, but I don't think they want our logo. And she's like, oh, no, they do. And I was like, what? So we need to figure that out.
Hey, listeners, comfort.com/shirtupod. You don't have to enter a code at checkout. If you use the link, it will count. So we've had a handful of orders come through. I've seen it work, so I know it's working.
Amazing. Shout out to those. And honestly, I think I will commit to this. If you bought something from Comfort and you get it to us, we will put our stuff on it. free and give it back to you.
Oh, yeah, we could do
Just
that.
as appreciation. We'll brand it for you. Again, no hard feelings, but if the teenagers want it branded, I kind of feel like we're onto something here.
Wow.
We're legit. I have a lot of Stanleys. I've never actually purchased one of them.
Okay.
I have a 12-year-old daughter, and everyone in middle school either has a Stanley, got one for Christmas, or when I say everyone,
Yeah.
they were the vibe, I guess is what I'm saying. They're very popular. Liv has several from my mom. She has several from her aunties. She has several that friends have left. My mother bought me a lavender one. Someone stole it at a Dow High track meet last year. So fuck you, whoever sold my lavender Stanley. And then my mother got me a Carrie Underwood collab Stanley. So I have that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I use that one. But generally the ones you see me with, the pink, the mint green with all the cute tops, those are all Livs.
Okay, hold on. I take this back. Our house has a Stanley, and it is a green Stanley with the
Hell yeah.
top that Matt would take his coffee for his work day when he
Fabulous.
was
Durability, baby.
you know,
That's one of the main
the OG.
propositions of the brand. I mean, it's a good product. We'll get into that. So with Stanley, like, I'll move along the story and we can cut the episodes, but I'm really going to do part 1, part 2, part 3, and like only part 3 of kind of the facts. I think there's a lot of legs to the story. I think we
You
can
want to break this up into multiple episodes. So Tuesday when we record, we continue Stanley.
like I think today I kind of lay out the facts and then
Okay.
and kind of the brand, and because there's just such interesting facts we can lay out without actually getting into a story. Like there's so many different stories I could go with inside the interesting facts, whether it's the CEO, whether it's the product, whether it's any of the things. So I think we can try it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I think it'd be worth the test.
And this is a good topic to do it on. This makes sense. Let's do it.
Makes sense. Okay, so Stanley. Let me lay out some facts for you. Let me open my. So Stanley was founded by an American physicist born in Brooklyn, who went to Yale, who was also an engineer with 100 patents. His name was William Stanley Jr., and he lived an incredible life in and of himself. So there's a whole story there. His son, fun fact, was Harold Stanley, who went on to found the modern day financial firm Morgan Stanley with J.P. Stanley's grandson, Henry Sturgis Morgan. So, I mean, just ballers from the beginning in terms of like their old money.
Yeah.
They're smart as shit. Yale, they're like, to me, like when you hear that story, it's like the modern American Kate and William or whatever, like Buckingham Palace from Life to Education.
Like in the realms of the Rockefellers and the
there you go,
people of American history, modern American history.
What do you know, and what is your what do you've got on your docket for what you know about the brand? Why you thought it would be so interested in me to do? Like, just give me your.
I know very little, like maybe 2 bullet points, is just in the family experience that we've had of this historically kind of like a male targeted mug that like the men in my family had, because they are blue collar workers, would take either soup for lunch. Like my uncle would take, he would always put soup in there when he'd go fishing or whatever. Or Matt would take his coffee in his Stanley, and then he'd have his coffee for the morning, and it would always stay warm. And then it became this whole craze of all of these, like now pink Stanleys and all these things that just like look different types of mugs, kind of out of nowhere in the last few years. And the only sort of anecdote that I know from that is that, like, I think it was like a marketing director somewhere was like, took a risk and made it successful with a whole new category of people, but I don't know why or how, or I just knew that there was like a little bit of a story, and like kind of one guy took the risk is what I thought had been the story.
Super interesting. So same story with the Stanley. You saw him camping, coffee, I didn't really see my people put soup in thermoses, more of the coffee vibe, or I did actually see my friend Abby's dad, Papa Hall, use that kind of shit. Now, what I do know about the category is like a Yeti category. I've had Yetis in my life. I've done a ton of them for giveaways and promos, and I know a lot of people who are Yeti fucking like cult Yeti brand loyalists. But Stanleys were never, to me, made for a woman's hand, and that's why I like the product. I'm sorry, Yetis were never made for the woman's hand, and that's why I like the product of Stanley. Like I always felt like they were so big and bulky, and like honestly,
Yes,
like
so
even
big.
my Stanley, like if I carry my 40-ouncer, like my girlfriend Christy, she's a PT, it gave me tendonitis in my wrist. Okay, so it's gotta be if you're gonna carry this fucker and you're a mom and you're on the go, you can't have shoulder and wrist problems. And that's how I felt about the Yeti. So I actually carry my big Stanley, my 40-ouncer like this.
Yeah.
And then that's why I generally carry Libs, because it's lighter and it's made, I think, just for all practical carrying. Like it's got carrying around an 8-pound weight all day long on your wrist. Like it's a first world problem, but also like it's facts.
Yeah. Full
You
fact.
gotta fucking stay hydrated.
Yeah, full
Also,
fact.
have you seen the comedy guy who says, I hate people who use water bottles, use the fucking drinking fountain like the rest of us, how the rest of us grew up? It kind of goes back to your point of like what's necessary and what's not. Like go to the drinking fountain. If you send your kid these days to an activity without a water bottle, you are seriously looked upon as a life failure. That's where my imposter syndrome came in, when I forgot to pack too many water bottles as a mother. And then those fuckers lose their water bottles. That's another thing I'd like to do research on. How many are lost or moldy shit?
And where's the
thrown
graveyard?
away?
Where's the graveyard for these lost and stolen water bottles?
Everyone's bottom kitchen drawers now. 40 of them. I throw out, I bet you, every spring, twice a year, 8 to 10 pieces of some sort of Stanley Yeti off-brand of the alike that doesn't match. Yeah, 100%. So there's a big loss. They lose them a lot there. So it's interesting, like, whatever. Okay, so back to the story, which is, I think it's all very interesting dialogue. So he started this company. So interesting thing about Stanley, in 1960, he died, 57. He didn't live very long. And neither did his president and the guy who was his partner. He only lived like 10 years longer than him, into his mid-50s. But in September of 1913, he patented what we know today as the all-steel vacuum flask. The idea came about as a result of his work with transformers. Remember, he was a physicist and an engineer, which he discovered that a welding process he was using could be used to insulate a vacuum bottle with steel instead of glass.
Interesting.
So the Stanley thermos became known for its durability, which I would say is still known for today. I drop my Stanley just like I drop my cell phone a lot. My Stanley looks real fucked up. I try not to drop my daughters, but I'm aligned with durability then, now, and hopefully for always.
There's stories of it, like a car being on fire and the Stanley's the only thing that survives.
Yes. Sold my thunder. It was the all steel thermos, Jessica, that was in production in the mid-1960s. And the United States Army reportedly tested the Stanley in World War I by dropping them out of airplanes and then running them over with heavy equipment. By World War II, the Stanley thermos were the flasks carried by bomber pilots. So cool. So cool.
These things are like over-engineered. Like, do we need them to be that durable? Yes.
No, we do.
Okay.
Because think about it. If you think they're still carrying Stanleys from the 60s. If you want to talk about sustainability and waste, like,
yeah, you don't.
Even if the carbon footprint of the production is tragic in today's standards, if that thing's lasting 100 years, 60 years, 50 years, I mean,
yeah,
the sustainability. I mean, you know what I mean? The cradle to cradle of that scenario is, I'd love to hear somebody like Amy. You know,
yeah, it can reuse a longer life. Its lifespan is a lot longer.
Yeah,
less in the landfill.
Less of the story, and I think more of just probably a silver, or not a silver lining. That's a bad way to say it. More of a what is the word I'm looking for? More of a theme, and I think all of the brands, or a majority of them we discussed, is, originally American company, now, made in Brazil, now I believe mostly made in China. So not sold in the US, or not produced in the US today. So so fast forward, they've got this great product. They dropped it out of airplanes. It's super durable. It's made in America. It's, founded by an American inventor. Used by bomber pilots into from World War I, where it was tested, to World War II. And then let's just fast forward, because we know that same Stanley is used by the fishermen today, and there's probably a ton of stories inside that we can research for episode 2. But let's move into like modern day 2016. They introduced what they called the Adventure Quencher. And the Adventure Quencher, the sales of it were just like at the bottom at a line, were just not substantial. Okay. The company stopped restocking and the marketing in 2019. So like it was so bad, like they kind of fell off the radar. And I think probably like can't find a lot of like innovation in the story, or like how do we go from like this super durable mug in World War II to like we're all going all the way to 2016. There's 50 years of history there, right? So either there's really not that big of a story, or I didn't uncover it. But like, I still think there's a major story in today and what's current. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. And then we can talk through, what happens from there. So in 2016, they launched the Adventure Quencher, and it just really didn't do well. And they kind of fell off the map in 2019. And then after working with what was called the Women's Buy, so it was called the Buy Guide, BUI Guide. Okay. It was a woman's run blog based in Utah. And they asked them to they did a joint brand partnership with them, and asked them to sell 5,000 quenchers.
Research, or like a consumer product, like a review, consumer's review thing.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah, that's my understanding. Absolutely. The company resumed production. So again, this women's run blog did their influencer magic, and they resumed production in an increasingly broad array of colors, which I think is a whole story in itself.
That's it, I think.
There you go. The product was primary driver of Stanley's annual sales, increasing from 70 million in 2019 to an estimated 750 million in 2023. Since successful influencer marketing campaigns for the Stanley Quencher has shifting its marketing to sell primarily to women.
So here's the thing. Very good that it's an influencer campaign. I think it would have been successful even without like an influencer element to it. I think the lesson is when women are a powerful buying group, we have this attraction to aesthetics by and large. And when you create something that is that desirable, it's going to work. And then I think the influencer piece of it just is fuel to the fire,
They have a great product in terms of how it sits in my cup holder, how it sits in my hand, how I can match it with my outfit or my vibe. We need to hydrate. We drink all the time. Like I drank no water until I was 25, like literally. Like fucking zero water. I literally drank Mountain Dew. I thought unsweetened iced tea was water, which it basically is, but it dehydrated me so bad. But long story short, we got to drink water. I think they have fantastic product. Their promotional strategy is baller. The fact that they found out, to your exact point, that women are a huge buying audience, are wealth actually. And
men bought one, and then they washed it. I don't know, because if you're just putting coffee, men bought one. How many did you describe that you had? You bought multiple. Like a single buyer is now worth multitudes more. Not just sell one Yeti to a dude, a green Yeti. They don't care about all these colors. I mean, I keep saying Yeti, Stanley. Women are buying 5 of them or more. Like it's a collection to match your vibe.
It's a collection to match your vibe. Well said, my friend. Well said. Okay, so rebranding of the Stanley Cup. So it goes from the Stanley Quencher to, your grandpa's green to the Quencher, and then it's just your Stanley. It's the Stanley Cup, it's the Stanley. And I can think they're keeping Stanley on the end of it, or their cup on the end of it, because it helps to add a descriptor to the trademark, but we don't get into that nerdy shit. But anyway, in 2020, the company hired Terrence Riley, formerly of Crocs, as its president. Sales of Quenchers, or the Stanley Cup, rose 275% between 2020 and 2021. In November 2020, Stanley announced a multi-year partnership with footballer or soccer player Lionel Messi, who my nephews absolutely loved years ago. They still do, but they were obsessed for a while. That marked the first ever collaboration between the company and a professional athlete. So Stanley's first brand collab with an athlete was Lionel Messi. The partnership will see Stanley offering a range of new products. Marketing the circle of TikTok. We did an episode on TikTok, and I was going to tell you earlier today in the spill that I saw something that a small business advertisement for TikTok during a really popular live show I was watching that I can't remember, but that was basically like all different people from all different walks of life basically standing on stage saying like, TikTok is my life, my revenue, my business, my whatever. So I thought that was super interesting. But again, like back to TikTok, it released the Stanley Quencher in 2016, circling back, became popular as a result of influencer marketing campaigns on social media, particular TikTok. The sales really started picking up in 2019. So it was the combination of, likely this Terrence, understanding brand, rebranding, understanding demand creation, understanding the power of his audience and the women and the channels in which they use and trust. And there you go. In 2020, when Terrence joined as the new president, he engaged with Ashley LeSueur, I'm going to kill her last name, co-founder of the Buy Guide, who had discovered Quencher in 2017 at a Bed Bath & Beyond store. So this lady, Ashley, who is the co-founder of the Buy Guide, discovered the Quencher at Bed Bath & Beyond. And if you remember, Bed Bath & Beyond back in the day was always known for like their racetrack, which in retail is like front of the store, stage, like new products that they introduce on market in a smaller scale in high volume traffic areas of the store. And so I do remember like Bed Bath & Beyond being sort of a catalyst for like new product launches. Anyways.
True. Weird, unique, sometimes trinkety things that didn't necessarily last, but they'd have like these weird things you just wouldn't find anywhere else.
Good place for testing, right? Testing the product. Do you want to take it on full bay, full shelf? Do you want to run inventory? Like, can you sell it? Because you get when you're in, as you know, like when you're in like on the product side or the supplier side of retail, and you're launching a new product or you're trying to get your foot into the door, a lot of the ways you can do that if you can get them to nod their head is through like a small end cap display or a small, we call them quarter pallet display or a small racetrack display where you prove to the store that you can generate demand and turn sales for the product. So in hopes you get, larger footprint in that store or really ultimately a larger footprint. And so that's what Bed Bath & Beyond did as part of their model. That's really interesting from even just to look into, Jess, Bed Bath & Beyond, because I kind of got down a rabbit hole with them. So she was impressed by the product. She became a supporter of the product, this Ashley. She gifted the products to friends. She recommended it to her followers, which resulted in increased interest. As a result, the company decided to continue production and release the Quencher in more colors. In 2020, the Quencher, or the Stanley Cup, became the brand's top-selling product, a position it has retained ever since. So for over 5 years, it is Stanley's most popular item among female customers.
And that's the one.
Limited editions have sold out. They have limited relaunch dates. They have a whole marketing strategy. They've had partnerships with Starbucks. They've had partnerships with Lainey Wilson. They've had partnerships with Messi. They've had Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Sunset, Gradient, Starbucks. You name it, they've done it. Their marketing story from 2020 today, modern day, has been incredible. I think I'd like to talk about that and how they did it and dig into that just for our own research and understanding and make episode 2. I want to save some space for you to ask questions. Also save some space for like where they're made. Are they sustainable? I got into a little bit of that. I think we need and owe our audience some more digging to that. They found some lead in the cups. They're made in China. The companies they've had 91 issues where the lids have filled off.
The Quencher is like the handle with like a solid straw kind of thing, right? Like it has the straw in it. Okay.
I guess my phone. Yeah.
Okay, fun. All right. So an old brand comes from old money, World War II element, extremely durable. It sounds like the durability still carries through in that Quencher brand. The Quencher was kind of a flop at the beginning until it was sort of revitalized with colors and targeting. Was it intentionally targeting women in particular? Was that like an upfront choice or an accident? Do you know?
So that's the piece I really want to understand. So this Ashley, who owned the Buyer's Guide, which was basically a woman's influencing blog or a woman's lifestyle blog, I want to look into that whole piece. And I'd actually kind of like to reach out to her. Like, it's very interesting to me just what she did and how she did it. But as I understand it, she would gift them and talk about them and gift them and talk about them. And she was supposed to sell 5,000. And then they started to do some research and say, okay, these are it sort of like was intentional but accidental blow up is how I understand it, if that makes sense.
So part 2, we'll talk about controversies. Sounds like there has
brand
been
collab piece, because that's interesting to me. Controversies and brand collab. So the Croc human, Terrence, that was hired from Croc. Crocs is one we have to do too. So that was 2 for you for us to know. Bed Bath & Beyond and Crocs has done incredible things with brand collabs, from the McDonald's Grimace slides that they have here, which make no sense, but then makes so much sense if you think about we also do McDonald's, because their last CEO from a brand position literally took nostalgia of the 80s and reinvented the McDonald's brand with us and our kids. So Grimace.
Yeah, one of the students that I was speaking at Northwood yesterday for.
Tell me that. I forgot to ask you about that.
Yeah, it went really well. It was so much fun. I would love to do it again. It was great. Loved the students. They asked great questions.
It was great. She was great. Everybody loved it. Yes.
Yeah. One of the students reached out and we were discussing like the trend of brand minimalism. 2 brands she specifically mentioned was like Hot Topic that we would have remember. And then now if you look at it, is nothing like the shopping experience at Hot Topic is like a minimalist experience now, which is hard for me to imagine because that's just not even close to what it used to be. And then the other example was McDonald's. So we'll continue Stanley in part 2 next week, but I'll start thinking about McDonald's and we can roll that in because that's just an interesting brand evolution, as you just said.
What's interesting to me, and where I think Stanley has done incredible growth, where McDonald's did incredible growth, where Crocs has done incredible growth, is all through brand licensing deals. And I think it'd be interesting to not only just dive into that more or talk about that more, but there's a very interesting licensing story.
Next week we'll talk about Stanley more in the growth, what controversies that led for them, and also, I mean, that's incredible growth really fast. They're doing these partnerships really fast.
There's a financial growth to that. Like there's a supply chain side to this, like that you'd find interesting. How are they keeping up with product quality, production? Yeah. Is it truly like a sweatshop now because we're not making Yetis and plant A like we are clothes because they can't take up the demand. Yeah. There's so much incredible. I had not heard of a Stanley. I thought the brand had died from like the green Stanley to the fancy $50 cup I'm holding today. And I'd love to bring all the Stanleys to the studio and line them up and then talk about maybe we probably have $700 worth of Stanleys in our house, which is wild. When I have Mike and I'm not.
I wonder if there's like an aftermarket value, like if there's like limited edition.
I spent a lot of time at the Goodwill. Now Stanley, I bet you could sell a used Stanley at the Goodwill for about $9.99. That's just a lot. I mean, for a cup.
No, like eBay. I'll look it up later.
Oh, the colors? Yeah, look it up really quick. Like,
I'll do it later. We'll put it in part 2. Let's talk.
Yeah, Stanley aftermarket, limited release colors.
And
we didn't talk about how we're not drinking Fireball and we're drinking coffee, and so if we're not as funny, we need everyone to call us out.
Whatever. I don't think. Speak for yourself. I'm still fun. Are you kidding me?
I don't know. Am I still fun?
Yes.
Look like I have a shit like a.
Well, that's because of the angle you're sitting. Sometimes your sweatshirt was moving up, or you did look like you had like nice big buff shoulders, but you were just in your anxiety.
I'm in my comfort. I'm in my
Yeah,
anxiety.
I
Shout
know.
out to comfort. Tell me about Hudson. Shout out to Hudson.
So Hudson listened this. Okay, so the CEO of Comfort, the founder of Comfort, reached out and listened. Said that he listened to the podcast. Said we did a great job, ladies. He said, or whatever, something of that nature.
Shout out to his creator's mama.
Yeah, she's creator's mom saw it. So hopefully she's still a listener. Love that. We're still having
DM us your address and we'll send you Comfort stirred up swag.
the mom or
yeah. Yes.
both.
Do you want us? Tell us to send it.
Okay, so we'll say it here. If you are the creator's mom or the creator who shared our podcast with Hudson, founder of Comfort, reach out. We'll send you some cool swag. We'll send you some Comfort stirred up swag, actually, but some other fun stuff too. That's a great idea. Comfort.com/stirred up pod. If you use that link, that entry point, usually we'll get like a little pop-up that says, I tried to change it to say stirred up, but it'll say Jessica Robinson invited you to save 15% off or something. So in that visit while you're shopping, you'll get your 15% off applied, and then we'll get 10% for referring you. You don't have to enter a code at checkout. Simple as that.
I miss you, mama girl. I cannot wait to see you in person. We got big plans.
We'll conclude part 2 next week. We'll clink or close. We'll decide at that point. But for now, we're holding out. We don't know. TBD.
Yeah, and we'll do double fireball next time.
Okay, as we should. Awesome. All right. Yeah. Safe travels.
Thank you for listening to Stirred Up. If you like what you heard, please subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Follow us on your podcast apps. Please send it to a friend. Leave a comment. Add a rating. Every little bit helps. We look forward to seeing you next week.